the base price is saying that that base price is low 43, high is 52. Now they wanted 55. Hi everyone, this is David with Tigner Adventures, and my wife Ninette and our little cat Tansy. We live full-time in our RV, and this particular video that we're doing right now is going to be talking about, you buying an RV of some type. Now, before I start, I want to also just talk about how the channel is going. I did this on Wednesday, on my Wednesday video. On Saturday, I'm doing these particular videos that hopefully can help you as far as getting started into being full-time. And then the rest of the week, I'm not going to do one on Wednesday anymore as a set date, but I'm going to be releasing other videos during the week, and I don't want a timeline or time frame that I have to always have it on Wednesday, because I just went and did something today and I want to get the video out tomorrow. So I just want to get videos moving, and so the goal is to have at least 2 videos a week, but some weeks I'm going to have more than that, and so I just want to show you what the RV lifestyle is, and that's what the rest of the time is for us. The rest of the days of the week is to show you what we're doing and how we keep ourselves busy and things like that. So, but this video is actually on, buying an RV. Now, last week, if you look here, nope. Is it here? Yeah, here. So I keep getting this all mixed up, but if you look there, you can see the video I did last week on Saturday was about the different types of RVs, and so there's all kinds of them, right? And so I just showed that. I was going to include this buying piece in there at the same time, but that started taking so long just to do that. I thought, I'm going to break this up, because I definitely don't want you to be too bored, even though, within the description you can jump ahead to different segments. I just want to kind of break it up just a little bit to help you out. So tonight, talking about buying an RV. Now, I think the first thing that anytime you're looking at something, now I'm going to go back on my experience, okay, between Ninette and I, what we did when we actually came up with the RV that we have. If you remember our story, it was that we had thought that we might want to do this, and we wanted to try it out. And so Ninette was finding all these different RVs that were very, very cheap, $1,000, couple thousand, but they were like 1980s. And so I said, okay, if we're going to do this, the first thing we need to do is figure out what we want in an RV. And that's what we talked about last week. So we decided we wanted a Class A, all right? And if you don't know that, still, talk to your friends, go out to RV things, rent RVs, whatever, but at some point you're going to come up with an idea that says, I want this type of RV. So once you decide that, then you need to, the first step is to make a list of all the things that you want in that particular RV. Okay, so we're going to make the list, and within that list, that whole setup that we're making this list on, we're going to determine, do we want to buy new? Do we want to buy used? All right. So a friend of mine, I was asking him, he just sold his brand new unit, and he's looking for an older diesel unit. And so I asked him, I says, well, you had a brand new one. Why do you want to get older? And he says, well, because diesel, the new units require you to use DEF, where the old ones don't. DEF is an additive that you have to put in there constantly. And plus, there's more computer information on the new ones and things that restrict it and things like that. So I didn't realize that there are people that really want to buy older diesel units, and they're the second one that I've ran into that's done that now. So that's something you put on your list. It says this is what the years I'm looking for. Now, in our particular case, I said to Ninette, ours has to be at least after 1990, because, or at least to the point where it wasn't points anymore, it was electronic ignition. So one of my steps was, the things on my wish list was electronic ignition. So we have to have electronic ignition. We have to have jacks. If you don't have jacks, then the unit kind of goes like this as you're walking, or you can feel people in the back moving around when you're sitting out front, or vice versa. So I wanted to have jacks. Okay, so that's what you're doing. You're just going down and making a list. One of the things that we both agreed on is we did not want a slide. We had too many friends that have had issues with slides, and where it's just us two, and now Tansy, she's just running all over the place, then, you know, we don't really need, you know, all this extra wide room. You walk into some of these RVs and it's a massive amount of area in front there, and it's like, what are you doing with all this extra area sitting here? You now got the weight of the slide, you know, that's keeping the, you know, that's extra weight on the unit, so you're not going to get as good a gas mileage. And, you know, and then you have issues, or at least some people end up having issues with their slides. So we decided we don't need all that extra space sitting in front. And sometimes, you know, we did put a fireplace out in front of our recliners. So I'm sitting on our recliners. We remodeled the inside, put electric recliners in, put our TV in directly across from us. So my TV is right up there in front of me. We did that, and then we put a fireplace, electric fireplace in just right across from the recliners, where, you know, in the older units specifically, and I noticed a lot of new ones too, they put the TV up above the driver seat, and it's like, who wants to be sitting like this all night trying to watch TV, right, when you're sitting on your deal? So that's something that we actually changed. So anyway, when the recliners are out, where I'm going with this is when the recliners are out, especially when my recliner's out, if you try to walk past, it's a little difficult. But when her recliner's out, you pretty much can't walk past her. So if I'm trying to get over to the computer or up into the driver area, she has to put her recliner down. So, you know, it's a little bit of an inconvenience, but that's something that we put on that list, is that we don't want to deal with the hassles of slides. And then the other list item that we had is we didn't want diesel. Now, since, you know, we've been doing this now for 4 years, we just passed our 4-year anniversary, there are some things that I probably would do a little different. I mean, we have been in the same unit for 4 years and we're really happy with it. So that's why I'm going to go through these steps to kind of make sure that you're happy with what you buy. It doesn't do any good to keep changing out every year, because you really don't normally come out ahead doing that. So anyway, but you make this list, and you know, when it comes to diesel, I just thought, you know, diesel it takes a lot more for maintenance and things, and so I was just kind of writing down things, and I thought, you know, gas, I'm used to working on gas cars all the time, so I want to go gas. And so that was another thing on my checklist. So anyway, so you have to make that checklist. You have to decide whether it's going to be new or used and what your checklist is. Some of the advantages to buying used is that a lot of the kinks in the system are worked out, okay? And used typically is going to be a lot cheaper than what a new one is, right? Because it's older. Problems with used is that some parks now are requiring you, they don't want anybody over 10 years, which, you know, I don't know about that whole idea. To me, it's like, okay, I just don't want to stay there. There's plenty of places I can stay. I don't have to worry about that rule. But if you want to live in parks all the time, then that might be something you want to keep in mind as you're looking at a unit. So just deciding on new and used. Plus, new does come with a warranty. But if you know, we're going to get into our checklist in a minute. But or our other thing on actually when we're going to do a inspection. But, you know, getting that warranty work done, sometimes there's some issues with getting that. For example, I was told a story, and I'm just repeating gossip here because I don't know the people that actually had this happen to them, but I was told that they bought a new unit. It had an issue and they could hear water running in the walls, and they took it back to the dealer to get it, you know, fixed under warranty. And they mentioned, hey, we're living in this full time, so how long is this going to take? Well, that particular dealer said, these aren't meant to live in full time, and if you're living in it full time, that voids your warranty. We're not doing anything for you. It's going to cost you. Now, that's a big load of crap, if you ask me, because, you know, you could say anything is not meant to live in full time if you don't maintain it. If you maintain these units, they'll last for years and years and years, just as good as a house. If you keep them maintained. It's just maintenance is all it is, you know, and if you can do that, your unit will last forever. If you can't, then it's either going to get pretty costly, or, you know, you're going to be getting rid of it because things are going to start breaking and you can't fix them, or it gets too expensive to fix them. So, but those are things you have to decide, you know, that has to be on that checklist, you know. So where do I want to be? You know, there are issues, like if you watch this video here, where I was interviewing Troy, and he was at an RV show. He used to own a dealership in Salt Lake City, and he was mentioning right now the cost of used RVs is ridiculous. So if you're going to pay the same price for a used RV that you're pretty much going to pay for a new one, then why not buy a new one and get all those kinks worked out of it under warranties, things like that, right? And then, move on your way. So you got to kind of keep that in mind when you're looking at this. So the idea of buying used is to save money. And in our particular case, our unit, they wanted $8,000 for it. And that was kind of, I think that was low blue book, was 8,000. But as I started going through it, and we're going to talk about inspections in a minute, I was able to get it for a lot cheaper than that. So I'll talk about that in a minute. But I could get it a lot cheaper. Well, you're not going to go out and buy a new unit for $8,000. I can guarantee you that. All right. So you just have to decide what is going to be that checklist that I make up. Ninette said, I do not want anything, because we're looking at the range of the ages where red mainly seemed to be everywhere in this unit. The floor was red, red carpet, red chairs, and she goes, I do not like red, in the motorhome. So that's on our, we don't want, okay? Now, when we come to the checklist, that's our checklist. That's our little wish list, right? When we bought this unit, we decided we loved the floor plan and everything was pretty much on our list, except Ninette got the short end because it's like, it is red. But I told her, I says, we're going to remodel and we'll pull out all that red stuff. So if you look back here on this veil, that's a veil thing or whatever it's called, balance thing that's above the shades, it's a kind of a turquoise color, but our shades are pink. So, she kind of got away from some of that, but because we love the unit, we had to make some compromises. And so you need to understand that. The list becomes a wish list of all the things that you want, and then you got to compromise. Where can I compromise? I'm going to either compromise on price because I'm going to have to pay more because I want certain things more than others, or whatever the case may be. You have to figure that all out. So then the other thing is that when you do get that list made up, so now you have your list, you figured out what you want, new, used, whatever, okay? You need to start looking around. The plan was that we had just signed a lease, all right, for a year. This was in September. And then we thought about doing this. We came up with this idea in October. So now we've only been in our lease for our apartment for a month. And now it's like, okay, well, we're thinking that we want to do this. And I started watching some YouTube videos and we started making our list and things like that. And it's like, okay, we need to go out and start looking. And she goes, we can't do this for another year. And it's like, I understand, but we need to start looking now so that we can, see what there is and start learning, because we knew absolutely nothing about RVs really at that point. And so we started looking, and we're taking our list, looking in the paper, going to dealers. I mean, you can find these RVs all over the place. Talk to your friends. They know a friend that's selling an RV. You see them in the paper, and you go down through the whole list. You go out and drive to all those places and go check out the video or the actual unit and see how well it was maintained, what it is, what the floor plan is, and things like that. Okay, so you're doing all that, and you're trying to figure out basically like what's in your local market is the easiest way to look. All right, the next step is rvtrader.com, and you can go out to RV Trader and you can start looking there, and you can put in your area, or you can expand that to so many miles away from you or the whole country, whatever. But you start putting in all the things, and it starts showing you a list of all the different RVs that you can go look at. So when you're looking at these lists, there's lots of different places, right, that you can find this list. You start looking at it, checking your, what you really like for different things. And I can guarantee you, as you go out and you start looking at different units, you're going to go, oh, hey, that's a cool idea. Let me put it on my list, because, it's another wish thing. Oh, I like that. That's a pretty good idea. So as you're looking out there, you're going to find more and more things to put on your wish list. And so that's kind of the fun thing, is doing that. Now, in our particular case, this was October, right? We actually bought our unit in November, and we still had a lease for, how many more months is that? Like, 10 more months of an apartment that we're paying for. And we now got this motorhome, and we want to start taking small trips and going out and starting out our full-time life. And so it kind of it didn't quite work out how we planned it, because we actually got into our unit a lot faster because we found one we really liked. And so that may happen to you too, but don't push it is the big thing, because if you're pushing it like, oh, I got this deadline, I got to have this by this week, that really slows things down for you, because you're going to see all these different things. You're going to say, I only think it's worth $10,000 and they wanted 20. They're not going to come down to that mainly, that probably, and they're going to go back and forth. So if your window is like, I got to have this all figured out in a week, then your haggling time and all that kind of stuff goes down dramatically. Now, our unit had been sitting on the market for a few months, and it was coming up to winter time, and these guys did not want to figure out where they were going to store it and all that kind of stuff. So they were a lot more anxious to get rid of it. And so basically, that's kind of what they call a buyer's market. There were so many of them out there, so many people getting rid of them, it became a buyer's market. Now, right now, we're more in a seller's market. So if you do buy something, you're probably going to be paying a little bit more of a premium because it's a seller's market. It may change in a couple years. We're figuring that it will, right? That all these people that have been buying things because of the pandemic are going to start looking at saying, you know what, we don't need this extra expense. We don't ever use it, especially if things get back to normal, and they're working all the time. So they're going to start putting them all up for sale, and then there's going to be a glutton of used, and the price is going to drop a lot. Now, whether that's dropped a lot that makes it worth waiting, I don't know. That's something that you have to kind of figure out. So anyway, but once you figure out what you want, okay, where you want it and where it is, it could be a dealer that you find it at, it could be, a private individual, whatever the case may be, then you need to do an inspection, okay? Now, the inspection that you need to do is, if you don't have the ability to do it yourself, then you really need to hire an inspector. And the one you want is a level 2 inspector. They go deep dive into the system. They check, they check the engine, they check the oil levels on everything, they check your transmission. These are things that you have to do if you don't hire someone to do it, all right? Now, it doesn't matter whether you're buying new or used. I would suggest that you get an inspection done. And this is why. If you buy a brand new unit, for example, and you go, hey, I got a warranty. Well, as soon as you drive that off the lot, as soon as you pay that sales guy his money and drive that unit off the lot, you are not his priority anymore. I can guarantee you that. He's not making a dime on you anymore. He just made all his money. And so the incentive for him to help you get things fixed has gone away. And so there's a lot of people that find out they've got issues, they take it in, and now it's in the shop for 2 or 3 months waiting to get through the list of where it's got to be and things like that. Now, if you have the list because you did an inspection, level 2 inspection, and you found these particular items all wrong, you're just going down that list, and you say, this is wrong, I want to buy this unit, I've got cash in hand ready to go, whatever the case may be, financing, whatever, and I want to, but there's this problem. I need this fixed before I can do it. Well, in that situation now, it's the salesman's priority is to hurry and get that fixed, some kind of makeshift whatevers, so that you can be happy with it and be able to so he can get his money and you can drive it off the lot. So you've kept the power yourself instead of giving them power. So the power is yours, and you've got to be willing to walk away. If you're not willing to walk away, then there's nothing they're going to do about it, right? They're just going to go, oh, well, we can't do it. So you need to just buy it now, and we'll get to it eventually, but, I can't do it right now. Just give me my money. Well, if you're not willing to walk away from it, say, okay, well, that's fine. I'll go check somewhere else. If you're not willing to do that, then you have no power over that salesperson. So you need to, kind of look at that and figure that out and keep the power in your court. So that's one way of doing it. Now, so let's move on to the inspection thing. And our website is tigneradventures.com. And if you go to that website, down at the bottom right is RV checklist. Okay, I use this list anytime I'm doing an inspection on a unit. That's what I use. Okay, whether it's mine or I'm doing it for somebody else. That's the list I use. Now, I think it's pretty good. And if you look at it and everything, you say, hey, you know, Dave, you need to add this, this, and this. That'd be great. You know, put that in the comments. Say, hey, Dave, add this to your list because this is cool. I'll get that added on the list. But I've gone through and checked everything based on, for most part, it's based on a motorhome. I have used it on a fifth wheel also before. So, you know, this it's kind of generic in some ways, but it is talking about a motor, you know, what kind of motor it is. And these are things that you really want to know anyway. You know, how big is the motor? You know, what kind of transmission? One of the things I wish I would have had on my checklist is not a Ford 3-speed transmission, because it doesn't have enough speed shifting in there to do anything, and so that's why we have to take our hills so slow. So if you get some of these units that have a 10-speed or 8-speed Allison transmission, you know, or something like that, that might be something you want on your wish list. And so anyway, you're just going through and figuring that stuff out, and that's what's on that sheet. Is you can just go down through that checklist and start going through things and evaluating. That's what we did on our unit here. I went and found out, okay, the step motor didn't work. That's pretty obvious because we couldn't walk up the steps. You know, we had to make this big step to get into our unit, so that was obvious. But then I tested the heater, and guess what? The heater motor was bad. The bearings were bad, and it was making a horrible squealing noise when I turned the heater on. And then, oh, guess what? I put some water in it and I turned the pump on, and the toilet hadn't been winterized properly, and the valve that, you know, the water goes through, it leaked. And so when you flush the toilet, it would spray out water around the floor and everything. Okay, so that was bad. So I just went down the sheet and, you know, marking these different things that are bad, right? So I have a complete view of what I'm accepting if I buy this unit. Now, it's not that I'm trying to not buy the unit, because I looked at all these different items and I said to the person, I said, okay, for example, the generator wouldn't start because they didn't take care of it, right? Everything in the RV that was wrong is because they didn't take care of it. So you can't expect to get top dollar out of something if you don't take care of it. Generator wouldn't start. Well, that's a carburetor that's $500, and plus I got to pay probably at least $500 to get it installed. So there's $1,000. You know, I'm going to have to put out when I buy this unit that they wanted $8,000 for. So there's $1,000. Oh, the step motor, you know, that's $50, and I got to pay someone to put that in. Oh, the heater motor is $50. I got to pay someone to put that in. Now, I don't pay anybody to put stuff in. I just did it all myself. But you gotta, you know, I'm telling this guy, because there's no way, I mean, he couldn't do anything. And so, you know, you got to put it into his terms. If he's going to try to get those things fixed, it's going to cost a lot of money. And I finally came down to the point, and I was looking through and going through my checklist, you know, that's out there on that website, and checking every little thing, making sure, you know, the water worked correctly. I didn't have leaks. The tires were good. In this particular case, the tires were like 2 or 3 years old, so they were all new. Okay. And so I went through that whole checklist, doing that whole thing. And then, you know, I'm just kind of doing that, and his wife leans over and says, maybe this isn't the unit for you. And I'm just thinking, are you thinking that you're just gonna pawn this off on somebody because you don't want to take ownership of the fact that you don't take care of stuff? I mean, it just, I sometimes I'm just dumbfounded. I want to show you some pictures of things that I noticed. I went out to a lot just here, not very far from where we're parked, and I was just looking at some units, you know, and some of their pricing and things like that. And so this first unit here is, you know, it's a fifth wheel, and it's got some damage here on the nose. Okay, so you need to look at that. You're going to write those things down on your check or on your inspection list for each. I just make copies of that whole packet, and I take it out to every unit that I'm going to be checking on. So here's another one. This is the slide toppers. Now, this slide topper's been ripped and things, which is like, oh, okay, well, that's, you know, it's damaged. I mean, it's wear and tear. So, but I want to be aware of that. How about this one here? So, for some reason, underneath this slide, when the slide was in, there's a damage above this door. Okay, the slide's out, so you don't necessarily see it. Okay. So that's why you got to really kind of dig deep and make sure that, you know, they're selling it with the slide out. If I paid for it and everything, then they put the slides in and I go to drive away and it's like, well, what's this big smashed piece on the side here, or the paint scraped or whatever, you know? And it's like, it doesn't matter. You already paid for it. Now you're driving away. Okay. So the more thorough inspection you can do and the time you can take to do that, the better off you will be on as you go through that unit. So I'm looking at this unit here on a lot, and I want to see if, I mean, it looks really good on the side. This side right here is facing the freeway. I can see it from the freeway. It's kind of, you know, cool looking little motorhome. So, so I like it. It's a 2003 motorhome. So I'm looking at it. I talked to the dealer and he says, well, it's 2003 and they want $55,000 for it. Let's go to the other side now. And you look at this side, and if you can look here, I'm showing it and I'll kind of put pointers here, but the whole wall is a big wave and you can push on it and it's collapsing, okay? What that means is this unit had massive water damage, and the wall, the fiberglass wall, is all bowed because all the structure has, you know, broke away, and it's you know, there's not a lot of structure there at that point. This unit is not worth $55,000. You know, that's a lot of damage. And Troy, remember my friend Troy with the RV place, he says, if you see a unit and the wall goes like this, you know, the outside walls go like that, run. Do not look at anything else. You are done with that unit. And that's what it is with this one. Okay, so as you're doing your inspection, you're going to figure all that stuff out. Just looking at everything, you're going to figure it out. And that's what's important with the inspection. All right, so once I figured out all my, you know, wish list, and I made up my checklist, I've done my inspections, I know everything about this unit, I know what type it is, what the name brand is and everything, then I can come to this site, nadaguides.com, and I can then look up RVs. So if you look at the top up here, it's autos, motorcycles, there's RVs. So I'm going to click on RVs. And then the simplest way to deal with this is come here where it says RV prices and values, start here. So if I just select that, then it gives me a list of the top 50 manufacturers. And that particular blue one I was just showing you was a Rexall, and that is not listed here. So it's not a very popular brand, meaning it's probably out of production, right? But I do have this list here where I can select from the complete list of 2,237 manufacturers. There's been a lot of manufacturers of motorhomes or trailers or campers or whatever, right? So RVs in general. So I'm going to select that, and I'm going to go all the way down. It was a Rexall. So I want to get down here, OPQRS, so I got to get my alphabet in order here, but I'm looking for Rexall. So there it is, Rexall, and then it's going to say here is Rexalls. All right, and I want to say I need a 2003 is what that one was, and it was a Rosaire. So we find the Rosaire series, and one right here was the model number because I wrote it down on my sheet. Here is the listing of options that I can choose from. And if I know what those are, I made that list of all the different things, then I can go ahead and select those. Otherwise, I can just get a base price, okay? The base price is saying that that base price is low 43, high is 52. Now, they wanted 55, so that's a little higher. So they're probably going on some other values here that I may have to go in here and select to come up with that 55,000 price. Now, that's the average retail price in this particular case. So low Blue Book basically is 43,000, unless I come up with some other specs on here. Now they're offering it for 55,000. So either I say, you know what, with that damage on the wall, maybe that's the only thing there, and whatever, maybe I'll go, I'm willing to spend that. Maybe I'm only willing to do the low Blue Book. Again, remember I said with damage on the wall like that, Troy said to run, so I wouldn't even buy this unit anyway. But at least this gives you a guide to how to look up the value of even your motorhome to sell it, or just looking up whatever you're looking at. We got a really nice unit for $6,700, and you know, just paid cash for it and we were done. That was because I checked everything out. So that's what that checklist does. It just empowers you to be able to finish it all out. Hopefully it'll give you some ideas. You can at least look at my checklist, my checkoff list, make up your own wish list, and have, you know, those things in hand when you're going to go out and actually look at something. Now, a level 2 inspection is going to cost you probably around $500–600. But if you're spending $50,000 for a rig, then, you know, $500 is nothing. Okay, I would spend the $500 and get a professional that's going to go through there and check every little thing off and make sure it's all perfect before you walk off the showroom floor with it. Okay, that's just my feeling. You know, I welcome your comments. Please let me know what you think. If you've got ideas of things to check, or you've had issues with things that you've bought that others on this channel should be aware of, you know, hey, let us know, because, you know, if we stick together as a community, that's what makes this a great community, is helping each other out. So put those in the comments below, help everyone out, and then we'll just leave it at that. We'll end this video there. Hope we'll see you down the road, and maybe we'll be on our next video. So take care.